Right, like to call to order the Needham Conservation Commission public hearing. Today is Thursday, April 28th, 2022. And as a preliminary matter, my name is Janet Bernardo. I am the Conservation Commission Chair. And first, because we are meeting by Zoom, I'd like to make sure everybody can hear me and that we, the members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Allison.
Aye.
Artie.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Janet, and we are missing Bill. Hopefully will arrive, and Stephen hopefully will arrive, and Sue is not available tonight. So for the record, staff, we have Debbie. You hear me? You're on mute, but I heard you earlier, so I think you're okay.
I'm here.
Clay,
Here.
and we will go through the attendance when we get to each individual. This open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this board and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and or their consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember, and then don't forget to turn it back on when you are speaking. A little fun piece there. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is Greendale Ave, the 1191 Greendale Ave. And at the moment, it looks like, oh, and Stephen Farr is here. Stephen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, thank you. At the moment, you do not have a DEP file number. Would that be true? Do you have any idea?
That is correct.
Okay. Clay, you've checked recently?
Yep.
So just so you know, we can open the hearing, we can talk about the hearing, but we cannot close the hearing tonight. We will have to continue it definitely for 2 weeks. It can continue to a different date if you desire, but we cannot close it without a DEP file number. Okay. So, Ralph, are you presenting for this?
I am, yes.
State your name and address, or just name?
Just name and then you can start presenting.
Okay, we're ready when you are.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rafe Boyd, and I'm coming before you for the notice of intent for 1191 Greendale Ave. May I share my screen?
Yes.
Sorry.
And Ray, if it's easier, I'm also the plans that you provided.
I'm just trying to pull up what I actually want because sharing screen is a nuisance. Can you see the file?
Yes, we see a blue square, proposed project.
So there are two parts to the project. The first is the installation of a canoe rack. This is not a dug-in fixture. Instead, it will simply lay on the grass in this area, as you can see on the mouse. The dimensions of the canoe rack are it is 10 feet long, it is 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide. It is made of wood. There are no posts being dug for this canoe rack. Instead, extremely minimal amount of leveling, displacing less than half a cubic foot of dirt will occur before to lay paving stones on that to keep the wood out of direct contact with the ground such that it can last longer. The second part of the project is in this area, the clearing of invasive species and debris to provide access to the river. As you can see, this is a drawing of the existing conditions of this area. There has clearly been some sort of construction done in the past at this location, as evidenced by sheet wood that is there, as well as 2 embedded pillars seen here and here. One of those 2 pillars will be removed as it is already relatively loose. The second instead will be polished and repurposed into to hold a sign. Then, as I said earlier, the canoe rack will go in this area, and there will be clearing of invasive species in this area. This includes a large amount of Asiatic bittersweet. For one, that's not it. That's not it. Too many photos. If
Photos
you
are great.
see this, does everybody see this?
Yep.
Good. So this Asiatic bittersweet has been choking out plant life in the area. Among them, you can see this is actually hanging from that same vine. So we plan to remove all of the vine in that area, as well as some Japanese knotweed in the area, which is bamboo. We will be trimming that back, which is mainly in here, as well as some brush. We will also be laying 2 paving stones here and here. This is
Wait, wait, oh, okay. Yep. Sorry.
this is to level the area, as that the current location of those that we plan to put those 2 paving stones in is a tripping hazard and not level. So laying these paving stones will instead make the path that already exists slightly much easier to traverse, as well as prevent further erosion. Then there will also be some minor trimming of existing plant life in this area, simply to keep it out of the path and make it more easily accessible. As well, we'll be cleaning up dead wood and debris on the ground, as well as large pieces of litter, such as this metal dolly that has been there for, at the very least, to my knowledge, months, most likely years. We'll be removing all of that, as well as all this debris that you can see on the ground next to those pillars. We'll be removing most of that as it's already dead down, and we'll simply be clearing it out. Beyond that, mainly we'll be taking out leaves and some beer cans that are already in that area. As you can see, there's one down here from there, as well as a couple of metal stakes that are existing, as you can see in this photo here, that was clearly put in for some previous project many years back, along with the metal pillars. That is the gist of the project. I now stand open for any questions that members of the commission may have.
Nice. I will go to the commission members. Trying to decide what would be the best image to have on there. Maybe the first one that had the blue square?
Hey, Janet, could I suggest, Janet, could I also ask, there was one that had all 6 pictures showing at the same time or something like that at one point?
Oh, would you rather be looking at that one, all 6 pictures?
At,
Okay.
at some point, I don't know if it had every picture or just the photos or
Yeah,
something.
no,
There was
this is
something-
good.
Now, it doesn't have the one that you were suggesting, though. It doesn't have that one. But anyway.
That's okay, because I was just trying to decide what would be easiest for the commission to kind of reference of the various pieces. Artie, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, it's just a couple of questions. So it sounds like a couple of, why is it switch off? Anyway, so it's okay. So it sounds like there's going to be no platform or anything like that built, just a couple of paving stones, clearing debris, a couple of paving stones to stabilize a little bit of the ground. I That's what I heard. Is that true?
Yes, the only thing that will be built is the canoe rack, in which the only digging will be the paving stones.
Okay. And now, is this, I figured I'd ask, is this open to the public at all, this access?
It is primarily for the school, St. Sebastian's, to provide access for them.
Okay. And could you go back to a picture showing the ground going down to this area? Do you have a picture of the ground actually going down to this area? Just curious if there's anything at all you have for that. Do you have any picture?
Are
from
you
the water?
referring to the paving stone area
No.
or the general area?
Well, do you have a picture from the canoe rack down to the water, or from the water back up the?
I
back up?
do. Give me 1 second to pull it up.
I think that'd be interesting to see. Yeah, I think it would be interesting just to see that.
So this is a picture of the canoe rack area. I will, if you give me 1 more second, I will pull up.
Okay.
And
That was interesting.
this is a picture from the same place looking down at the.
Could you make that
place.
bigger? We can.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
Oh, it's pretty
Okay.
big.
So as you can see, it's slightly hard to tell on a picture, but there's an already slightly established path there. The main focus of this project is simply to clean it up, cutting it back so that it can easily be used once again, as it has fallen into complete disrepair.
So did you say that those two pictures, the one that had the fence and the grass, and this one, you just basically turned around and took the picture in the other direction?
Primarily, yes.
Okay. And so one is gonna have where the raft is gonna sit, and then this is the path. You're gonna clean out, remove invasive species, remove the debris.
You
But
can
the
see
paving
vines.
stones.
The paving stones are going around in this area. It's hard because it slopes down. I do have another photo, though it's hard to show the debris. I came across it 2 seconds ago, so it shouldn't be that hard to find. Hopefully. Oh, here we go. So this is the area. It's slightly harder to see the elevation, but it's in this general area where I am clicking, where I'm scrolling the mouse around, where the two paving stones will be placed.
So they're not in the water, they're on the bank.
Yes, they are on the bank, not in the water.
Artie, you're all set?
I think I'm all set, Jenna. Thank you.
Peter, you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, is this the area where there was the poison ivy? That was such a issue in the past?
I believe there have been some poison ivy in this general area. However, in this exact area where the project is taking place, to my knowledge, there is not an enormous amount of poison ivy. So,
Okay, good. So what you're seeing mostly are invasives, and then looks like piles of stick that have just sort of accumulated there.
yeah, referencing back to this picture, we see a lot of Asiatic bittersweet over here. Or no, Japanese knotweed, pardon, sorry. The Japanese knotweed that I showed the earlier picture is over here, as well as a hefty amount of brush over here, and some burning bush as well is mixed in there.
Okay, thank you.
I believe they were doing something with the building and there was a lot of poison ivy near like between the building and the river. But this is near the tennis courts, is that correct?
Yes, there it is.
If you want me to clarify, the poison ivy was down by the parking lot area. And they were supposed to put trees in that area, but they couldn't find a landscaper that would do that. So they repositioned the trees further down towards this area.
So for reference on this plan, my project is happening over here.
Mhm.
Area where the poison ivy was over here,
Right.
from what is being described.
Okay. Peter, anything else?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Allison?
Just a couple of things, good presentation. I think this is going to be a great project. And it's nice you'll be able to use the river. So a couple of things. One is that you're going to seed. And I think the seed that you install should be a native seed mix that can take some shade. So you can get seed from a company called New England Wetland Plants. I don't work for them, but I use them all the time. And they have specified or special seed mixes. Don't just go to Home Depot and get bluegrass or something, or perennial rye. Okay. And then another thing is that to try, if you're going to do this yourself, which I think you might, are you guys doing it yourself? The construction?
Yes.
So just try to limit it to just what you need and not more than you need. And the third thing is, I saw beer cans, and I think probably beer cans are, maybe people from St. Sebastian. So just be aware that you're going to make a more attractive place to sit there and drink beer. So try to keep it clean. That's all. Beautiful project. It'd be great.
Stephen?
Yeah, no comments. Thank you.
So, that was everybody on the board. Couple of questions. How are you planning on removing the bittersweet?
So depending on the particular area of the vine, we will either, in some sections, we will be using clippers, and others we will be using a bow saw.
And then you're gonna try to pull it down and dispose of it in some way?
Yes, most likely it will end up going to a dumpster. Or landfill.
So not just left there.
No. Leaving it
And
there.
how about the Japanese knotweed? What's your hope to try to combat that?
We'll be cutting it back in the area of the project due to the massive scale of the knotweed throughout this riverbank. We're not going to be removing it entirely, but instead just removing it in the within 5 or so feet of the project area, as removing it entirely would be a much more massive undertaking.
Yeah, do you have like a square footage of the area that you're working within?
I believe it's about estimated, just off the top of my head, I would say 40. I have a figure somewhere. Give me 1 second, pull it up. Mentioned it in the WPA. It's about 15-20 square feet in total.
Okay, 15 to 20 square feet. And that will be written, I assume that we will issue an order of conditions and that will be written. And so you're going to want to stay within that 15, 20 square feet, as Allison was mentioning, to kind of limit your exposure. We also want to make sure that you don't dig stuff up so that the soil gets eroded, but the invasive species are tricky because, they'll just grow right back.
Yeah.
So,
Outside of removing those invasive species, the only digging we are really going to be doing is to place these 2 paving stones here, with extremely minimal digging happening for the canoe rack.
the paving stones, the goal of the paving stones is to prevent erosion as well as a little bit of footing for people to be able to.
Yes. Currently, this area is hard to get a grip on, especially if you are coming down carrying, say, a canoe. So the paving stones are simply to provide a flat and level footing, as well as to prevent any future erosion.
And I was a little confused about the, your canoe raft, because the
Raft.
dimensions, I'm sorry?
Rack, not raft.
Oh, it's a rack. That was why I was confused. I was
So-
like, what is a canoe raft?
No, I would be confused too. So
And the
this is-
dimensions, I'm like, it's 8 feet tall. How is, what
So-
is this raft gonna look like?
This is a
This is great.
preliminary design. It has since had some minor modifications, including the addition of a few cross braces. However, this should give you a general sense of
Yes.
what will be built.
And you're gonna build this by hand?
Yes, primarily.
And it's made out of wood? Is that what you just
Yes.
said? So how many people will help you?
Depending on the day, it may vary. I estimate to have about 8 people. Maybe
And you
more.
coordinate them all?
Yes,
And then you take any of the debris and trash that you find, you bring to
Of
the
course.
dump, I assume.
yes.
And you're not actually, besides removing some trash from the river and that trolley cart, you're not really working in the river.
No, only those large debris, even the dolly. At some parts of the year it is above water, at others it is not. So depending on the river level at the time, it may be above or below water.
And when are you hoping to do this?
I was hoping to do it in early May. However, now it's looking more late May or early June. However, if that does not occur due to time constraints, it may not happen until midsummer.
Okay, so basically, once we finish with tonight's hearing, we will continue this, and we can continue to the next hearing. Assuming that we issue you an order of conditions at the next hearing, then there's a 10-day appeal period that you'll have to wait before you can start. But just to give you a heads up on the timing of all of that, so.
Of course.
So just so you keep you aware. Okay, so any commission members have anything else they'd like to add before we open it up
Hey,
to?
Janet? Yeah,
Yes,
Janet, Janet, I just have a couple of things. One is, I'm curious, what will the sign say? You're saying that one of the posts is gonna be left there for a sign. What was that sign gonna say?
Most likely something along the lines of Saint Sebastian's canoe area or something along those lines. I will be finalizing it with Saint Sebastian's headmaster sometime within the next few weeks.
I assume St. Sebastian's is on board with this project.
Yes, of course.
And Ralph, can you pull up that diagram that shows the aerial view and the rectangular around the area, or a zoomed in one that shows the one to the left there. Yeah, that one. Actually, I was just curious about one thing.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just trying to understand the 50-foot buffer line and the 100-foot line. So, okay.
So who flagged the wetlands for you?
Yeah.
In this like this survey overall.
Yeah, where it has WFX-5 and WFX-3, those are wetland flags.
Can answer that.
Okay,
This is a plan from the St. Sebastian's project of the.
okay,
athletic. So it's done by John Rockwood at Ecotech,
okay. And what
Sheldon-
year is
Sheldon
this
there.
dated?
2015.
2015. And Deb, have you been out to the site?
Have I been out to the
This
site?
was a clay project.
Oh, Clay, I'm sorry. Clay, have you been out to the site?
Yes, I have.
And are you comfortable with the wetland flags as they're shown on this plan?
I am, and that was a discussion that Rafe, Rob, and I had on site as well with that document. While the delineation is a bit older, the wetland delineation done in this area and the areas that we walked for the launch still appeared accurate.
And is there a catch basin in the middle of all this?
There is, it's kind of an interesting spot. Technically, the catch basin is up near the top of slope. And it's not quite within the wetland. I think the flag was placed there due to the amount of knotweed that climbs the slope there. So I believe that there's a portion of wetland that continues to elevate. It doesn't just stop at the bottom of the slope. But his work will be outside of the wetland boundary. And when we walked that area, one of the recommendations that I had for special conditioning is to have staff on site for their day of work, at least their first day, for a couple of purposes. One is to make sure that there's a clearly defined area that they're limiting their work to, so that we don't have any work encroachment or clearing encroachments. I'd like to be out there to help apprise all of the scouts working on the project how to identify these invasive species, both so that when they're working on site, they can identify them, as well as hopefully broadening their knowledge of invasive species and kind of keeping an eye in their own homes and other places. And just to make sure that overall the project is remaining minor in the work itself. So using extreme discretion as to the extent of clearing, make sure that we're only doing it mechanical clearing, and making sure that disposal of the invasives that are cut are handled accordingly. That was one of the things that we discussed with the Japanese knotweed, was bagging it immediately and not allowing any kind of seeds to disperse or to just pile up to decay and spread.
Great, thank you for that. Artie, I think I interrupted your conversation, but did you get what you wanted out of that?
No, that was good, Janet. That just pulled in exactly what I was looking at. Thank you.
So any more commission members, anything to add? Is there anyone in the audience that has anything more to add about this?
There is one hand raised, and I will pull them over to talk. It looks like it's listed as a Ken Goldberg. Ken, just a moment.
Ken Goldberg, if you can hear us, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ken Goldberg. I'm a resident of Met 11 South Court, not too far from where this project is located. I think it's a good project. I would ask the commission to think about placing a condition to allow for citizens of the town to use the access. And it would be on a limited basis. Obviously, it's private property, and but I think you have the right to do that. At least think about what that might entail and ask the property if they would consider that type of amenity as well for the town. In the summer, I don't think St. Sebbe's is in session 12 months a year. So maybe summer months might be a time where it might be amenable. And again, I'm not talking 24/7. I'm thinking about some sort of limited time and place where people who want to know about this can find out about it and maybe use it.
Thank you. That's a fair question.
I don't think the owner is here tonight. I'm not sure if anyone is here from St. Sebbe's is the.
I can discuss it with Mr. Burke, St. Sebastian's headmaster.
That would be great.
Thoughts
Thank
on it.
you. And you can come back and tell us how that conversation went in 2 weeks and you return. Anything else, Mr. Goldberg?
That's it. Thank you for hearing me. Appreciate it.
Anybody else in the audience? Clay?
There are no other raised hands.
And is there anything more that you want to add on this?
Just that I felt that the project was minor. It wasn't officially a minor activity listed as exempt under the regulations. This is certainly a project that we would have probably considered to come before us as an RDA. However, DEP's guidance no longer, they've taken a stance that RDAs are not appropriate within Riverfront as it is a resource area. So we worked with RAFE to come through the notice of intent project process. When we were walking the site, the locations for those two embedded landscape pavers, I think are going to be important for not just mitigating a tripping hazard, but also mitigating any erosion down what is already an existing footpath, essentially. As you saw in the photos, there's a bit of overgrowth of vegetation, but for the most part, there's a strong prevalence of invasive species. So I definitely want them to start tackling that. However, part of our discussion on site was that they will not be able to get rid of all of the invasive species. The knotweed in particular continues down the whole bank. It really loves that riparian zone, and that would far exceed the scope of this work. However, things like the placement of the canoe rack more than 50 feet from the bank, I believe is listed as a minor activity. So really it just comes down to removal of the debris, the unnatural debris, the cans, the dolly, the plywood that's down there. And I do believe it's a net benefit and minor in nature.
Great, thank you very much. A nice presentation. And Mr. Olson, do you have anything to add to this conversation?
No, all set.
Okay, thank you. Ralph, anything else?
A member of the commission earlier mentioned seed mix. Could you elaborate on that quickly? Just because I missed the first part of what was said.
Sure. There's a company called New England Wetland Plants. If you could, there's also other companies as well, but this one is local. And you can find it online, and they have all kinds of native seed mixes. They collect the seed by hand of native plants and prepare seed mixes new every spring with what they collected in the fall. So it sort of changes a little bit every year, but they have all these very specific seed mixes. For instance, they have a seed mix for dry meadow. They have a seed mix for wildflowers that is in the open air, with the dry, or they have wetland in the shade. They have all different kinds. And if you go to the website and you see how they're described, you can find one that probably will match this location, which even though it's in the wetland, I don't know if it actually gets that wet. So it might be something that's a shady, dry mix. I would actually ask the people. They have wonderful people to help you, to help you find the right mix and the right amount to buy. It wouldn't be a lot because you just have a little bit. It's not a very big area. And then they will tell you how to seed it. You don't want to do it too deep. And you want to keep it moist, until it germinates. It takes a while to germinate because native seed mixes don't germinate quickly like grass seed. Take like a couple of weeks or more. And this is the time to do it. So the sooner you can do it, it wouldn't be good to try to do this in July. It would be too hot. You wouldn't be able to get the seed to germinate. So the sooner you can do this, and if you want seed that's native, the better. Is there anything else you might want to know about this?
Thank you.
Okay.
And we can try to have our order organized for the next hearing so that, the shorter your appeal period, the shorter the whole extension is, to get you going, because this is a great project. So we appreciate you coming in, and now we need a motion to continue this until, when is our next hearing? May
12th.
May 12th?
Yeah, sorry.
Can I have a
Hey,
motion to,
Hey, Janet, how many, so we have a quorum here plus one, correct?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes.
Okay, just wanted to
Okay.
make, just in case I'm not at the
Yeah,
next meeting, if you know what I'm saying. You're a quorum plus one, okay.
I know. The next, that's kind of a good point. But yeah, we'll make it happen. May 12th. Yeah, I'm not gonna be at the next hearing either.
So I don't know if anyone moved. So moved. I don't know if
Have a
anyone
second?
moved that one. So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor to continue this project at 1191 Greendale Avenue, notice of intent to May 12th. Allison? I think you said aye. Stephen?
Aye.
Aye.
Artie?
Aye,
Peter?
I,
Yeah, aye. Great. Thank you very much for your presentation. Great job. And we will see you in 2 weeks and try to move this right along.
Thank you.
And I will, I'll follow up with you after the meeting, Rafe, probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And Clay, if you can organize that condition, the special conditions that that's what you were talking about being present and that bit. It is a great educational opportunity for the Eagle Scouts. And but if you could maybe get it to us sooner so that we can get our opinions on there. Okay, next project 94 Heather Lane, DEP file number 234886. This is a notice of intent for, I believe it is for a pool removal. And let me find that. And who is present to talk about this?
So
Anybody?
the person that you met on site today was supposed to be presenting for Joyce.
Yeah, he said, is he in the, he's not in the,
We
He
do
said he
have,
was gonna be-
was that a Robert? We do have somebody with their hand raised currently. I can pull them over.
okay. Yeah, does that make sense? Here you are. You're ready to do your presentation? Can you hear us? You're
Yes, thank you.
great. Okay, name and introduce your name for the record, please.
Rob Truax of GLM Engineering Consultants representing the applicant. So what we're proposing here is this is, can I share my screen?
Yes, you may.
Okay, did that pop up? Everyone can see
Yep.
that? So this is what we call lot RC Lot 5, which is at the end of Heather Lane Extension. The house is currently under construction, the new dwelling. And there's an existing old swimming pool back on the left-hand corner of the site, which is located right down here in the back corner. It probably hasn't been used in years. There's a little bit of patio around it. The patio is like paving stones, there's a lawn area, and then there's a fence that surrounds it. The fence is a post and rail fence with wire fencing attached to it. So the applicant would like to remove the pool, remove the fencing, grade the area, flatten it out a little bit. It kind of mounds up and slopes down towards the wetland area. So ideally, we'd put the silt barrier around the outside of the fence. We'll take the fence down, we'll pull the pool out. We'll use some of the material to flatten it out to fill in the pool area. And then we would plant the area with a wetland seed mix. Joyce Hastings of our office has actually provided the applicant with the seed mix. I think she's even gone as far as ordering it and having it delivered to his office. So he does have it in hand. So it's pretty straightforward. See, I did have an opportunity to walk the site today with you, Miss Chairman. And we did see it. The pool is primarily empty. There's no water in it. There was a little bit of water, maybe a foot or so in the deep end today when we looked at it. So there's not going to be any dewatering or anything that needs to take place to do that work. So I can answer any questions on that the commission may have.
You're gonna remove all of the material that's the pool. You're gonna remove it all.
We'll take the
Okay.
concrete material out and away, put it in dumpsters and haul it away. and the fencing, et cetera, all the debris. And just use the earth material that's around it to fill in the hole.
And Clay, I sent you a couple of pictures. I don't know if it's easy for you to pull up on that. Just to see what the pool looks like, as well as there's a fence that seems to be kind of, I guess, at the top of the slope, but maybe at the 50-foot buffer. And it's covered by vines that Rob and I, being engineers and not wetland scientists, did not know what they were, but they looked invasive. We both thought that they were invasive. So the all will come out. The fence is basically the limit of work, and that will come out as well. But there is a vine that's all kind of tangled in the fence. So what is this? Somebody tell us what it is.
I know what it is.
What is
It's
it?
it's euonymus, big leaf euonymus. It's planted.
Is that, so it's non-invasive? Is it?
I mean, you know, I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, it's gonna all get ripped out. Do we
Yeah,
care?
it's fine. I mean, it's not native. It's,
Okay.
it's Asian, but it's not like the other things that Rafe was talking about.
Yeah, it's not weed.
Yeah, no.
So
But
this is
yeah,
kind of the
that's
top of the slope.
It was planted. I think it was planted, but it's just, you know, just grown wild. See, it's sort of evergreen. You see that? Often
Yeah.
people plant them around their post office. I mean, their post box, you know, a mailbox.
Oh, okay. Does
You
it
know, they
flower
sort
or
of look
anything?
shrubby, you know, but they're evergreen, but they have like a berry.
Okay.
But they're I mean, they're not.
So the fence is a couple of feet, and it kind of goes up to the pool. And so there'll be some leveling of soil. They were planning on kind of taking from the fence and putting all the soil like where into the hole where the pool is after they take the pool out. So there'll be some leveling of this area. Maybe go back to the pool photo for 1 second. So it's kind of like up a little bit on a mound, so it's gonna all come down a couple of feet, which I didn't have a problem with, but this is like the edge of the fence is at the 50-foot buffer, and then the whole pool area is within the 100-foot, or maybe it crosses through, the 100-foot crosses through. The plan that we originally received shows the 100-foot buffer really at 150 feet. So there's a second plan, I believe, that I didn't print, that shows it, the 100-foot buffer comes through that area.
Yeah, it does. It comes across the pool.
Okay, so any commission members have any questions? Allison?
Just a quick one, that there's probably about, 4 inches of loam, I'm guessing, that's on top at most, that's on top, that you see right here. And because they want to use what's underneath to fill, which is probably, gravel, borrow or something, fill, I would pull the loam off, make a pile, and then push the stuff in, and then loam it, use the more organic material to seed in. People think that you can just seed wildlife seed mix and nothing, in sand, and you can't. So I would try to pull as much of the, like 3 or 4 inches or something of the more organic material
That's fine.
that you
Yeah.
see, and then push it in, and then push that, and you may need more loam. I don't know. It depends on what you find, but.
And I believe that Joyce was suggesting a wetland seed mix. Does that make sense on this area?
No, it doesn't. Because
Yeah,
it's
it seemed high.
No, wetland seed mix has to be moist. Absolutely doesn't make sense. I would use a conservation seed.
I think it was a conservation
Okay,
mix.
fine. It's from wetland plants, but it's.
Oh,
not the
yeah.
wetland-
Yeah, it's not a wetland mix.
There is a wetland mix that has to be moist, like, 75%.
I may have said that wrong.
You don't
I
want
think it's
that.
conservation wildlife mix.
I mean, I've made this
It
mistake.
says
before.
conservation wildlife on the plan.
That's fine. That's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
But you have to get it in quickly. It's getting too late. You don't want to wait till after the 15th of May. I don't know if you can push this along quickly. Can we approve it tonight?
Yeah, they have a file number, so if we choose to, we can
Yeah.
issue
You
this
can make
order.
it faster. Yeah, or it's not gonna take, and you need to put some hay blanket on top of it to get a really good take. With cotton
That's
netting,
fine.
not with plastic netting, stuff that's gonna degrade. Okay,
Okay, next, Peter?
Yeah, so when you visited, was there a clear path that they could take that was non-destructive to bring the dumpsters in and out?
Yeah, basically it's lawn all the way to this pool, and yes, it's just open area.
Okay, good, thanks.
Stephen,
No comments.
Artie?
No comment.
So the other piece that we wanted to talk
I have a
about.
couple comments if you.
Okay, Debbie, you go.
Okay. So they gave us for the bylaw fee $50 for this. So they're saying it's basically one activity. Are we comfortable with that, or do we consider this more than one activity, or?
Well, what's the one activity? Removal of a pool?
So they're removing a pool, removing a fence, moving a shed, and removing the surround, I guess.
So if they were removing a house and there was a shed on that property, would it be the same thing, or would that be two?
I think the definition is that it could be a standalone activity that's not related to the other activities. So they could remove the fence without removing the pool. So the fence is an activity. Removing the pool is an activity.
Is it, and removing a fence is not an exempt activity?
Just asking if you think $50 is fine. It's fine if it is. I just wanted to
Yeah,
check.
I'm just trying to be like, okay, what's the, like, make sure that, I think, I guess I think it's fine, but I'm happy
Okay.
to have other people jump in and have an opinion about that.
I agree. I
Um,
think it's one project is fine, that one fee.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think we have to split hairs and try to find another 50. That's fine.
Okay. I don't, on the notification, I didn't see that it had the date of the meeting or the time of the meeting. So I don't know if, when it was actually sent out, if that information was added to it or not. And I
any
also,
Butters here that. Now, do you have a copy of that letter? I know.
Got the, you should have received the mail certificates, certified mail receipts.
But what does the letter
We sent that.
say?
the one that was in the packet doesn't have the date or time of the meeting. So I just wanted to point that out.
It usually, and it usually does. And this, but it was also noticed in the paper?
Yes. And the last thing is, I didn't know if you wanted to, in addition to the erosion control, have them put up orange construction fencing.
I do like that orange construction fencing.
I think on this site in particular, that we want to make sure they're staying within the,
Yeah, I like the orange construction fencing for clarity.
okay. So those were my comments.
Is there anybody in the audience that has anything to add?
There are no hands.
And all commission members have commented. So when we were out on this site, there was another issue because further closer to the riverfront area. Hey, Deb, can you send the pictures that I sent you to Clay, or did you give them to him already? Can't remember which of the ones.
The ones that you texted to me?
Yeah, are you able to send those to Clay? Or to bring them up on the screen? I don't know how to do that.
Let's see.
So there was some tree pruning and some clearing of debris that was close to the river. So there is some stakes that say 200-foot riverfront area, and there's a straw silt sock around. The silt sock extended further than the 200-foot riverfront area. So I met Rob out there today and we walked around the area. For the most part, the silt sock was along the line, and then the riverfront area bends because the river bends, and the silt sock didn't bend with it. They had done a bunch of pruning of trees outside the 200-foot river, and then there was some clearing. Supposedly, the site contractor was out there with us of some soil stockpiles that were leveled, and maybe some of the soil was removed. We also came across an old stump dump, a very large old stump dump. And near that, there were some ruts that was definitely within 200 foot, but we were leaving it there. It will just decay in place. And there were some ruts, like a truck had been in there that maybe pulled out some of the old stumps. We recommended that the contractor rake that area out by hand, anything that was within the 200-foot area. It was probably maybe a 50 by 50 foot square area. Does that sound fair, Rob? We didn't actually measure it when we were out there, but
We didn't, there weren't any trees that were taken down in there.
there was
though. It
no
just
trees
it
taken
looked like a
down,
pile
but
of dirt.
there was a pile of dirt that needed, so now they were gonna rake the rest of it by hand, put a seed mix down, change, put another line of silt sock at the 200-foot riverfront area, and not touch it again. That was kind of the recommendation, but we wanted to, Deb and I talked about kind of rolling that requirement into this order. Was that the plan, Deb?
Yeah, that's fine.
It seemed the most logical with the timing of it.
While you're there. So instead of having an enforcement order for this piece that most of it was out of the 200-foot, we believe that a butter that's on the other side of the river could see the trees being trimmed and pruned, was concerned that they were pruning trees close to the river, but in reality, they were outside the 200-foot. We didn't see any tree stumps or pruning within the 200 feet, but there were some truck markings and some stuff
Do
that
you have
looked
those
like-
pictures at all, Clay? Clay's helping.
That's the stump dump. And
That's
that's
it.
So
the,
when
road
I
for
was
it.
out there with Bill Piersack, he said that area, the stump dump, was much higher before.
yeah,
it
so it
looked
looked
like
like
they've taken
like a
out.
truck had gone in, like there's a rut from a truck. But we're like, leave the stump dump, fill this, make this, just rake this so that nobody falls in this rut hole, and just seed this whole area. So this was just like a truck had kind of come in, pulled some on, and then the orange stake is the 200-foot line, the 200-foot river. So to the left is what was pruned, and that's outside the river. To the right, you can kind of see some rough area. That's kind of where there were some stockpiles that were removed. Are there any more photos? And this is like a old pile of loam that this is within the 200-foot. But so they're gonna hand rake the rest of this out, smooth it out so that it doesn't have ruts in it, and plant it with seeds and walk away. And this is I think the orange stake is the 200-foot. So can you see the orange stake in the middle? Yeah, so that's
Yep,
the,
right
I
there.
think that's the 200-foot line. So in front of that is outside the 200-foot, on the other side is in the 200-foot.
And they're gonna leave the shed, the playhouse.
Yeah, there's a shed back there, which is in the 200-foot. It's kind of like a little teeny log cabin, like a little kid's playhouse. In one sense, it was adorable. In another sense, it's a little spooky. But we said leave the shed. I mean, because it was really in pretty good condition. It's not a shed. It's like a kid's playhouse. Little kids play log cabin.
Yeah, Bill Piersack went to Maine and got the material and constructed it for his kids when they were little. It's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, actually.
Mm.
And it's in good shape. It's solid.
So, sorry, I'm just. I sent Clay another picture of the playhouse. Okay, so any more questions about this? And nobody in the audience has any questions?
There are no raised hands.
And Rob, you any more to add to this conversation?
No, I'm good.
So we have a file number. Do we feel like we have enough information? And are we ready to close this hearing? And if so, I'll take a motion. And Clay, when you get our little doll, our little playhouse, you can show it to everybody because it was kind of cute. A motion to close the hearing? Allison, that was, I think, Allison. Steven, thank you. All in favor? Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Allison.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Great, thank you very much. We will be talking about this. I think we get an exhibit today for the special conditions. So if I've been trying to think about this from a when Ralph was here. If we issue this, but it's not actually officially issued until we sign it, is that true?
That's correct.
I'm looking
I think so.
at my guys. I'm like, yep, Clay, it's not
I'm
really
nodding.
official
What
until
was
we
the
sign it.
question? I'm sorry.
Is the order of conditions not official until we actually all sign it?
Correct.
Or is it official tonight after we vote on it?
No.
When does the 10 days start?
Once we issue it. It's
Okay.
on the issuance date. So it's
Okay.
when we either mail it or they pick it up.
Okay, so we will want to try to get it signed relatively quickly. It's a little bit of a process because
Well, then don't take your garage down.
I know, well, you can use my mudroom. We'll use my mudroom, but there's the garage is coming down. So, okay, so just so you know, that's the process. We have to get everybody to sign it. And here's a little house, little log cabin, miniature size. That's staying. Okay, so we're ready to close. We already did that, right? Did we say that?
So Joyce will keep in touch with Debbie about when it's ready and we'll just go from there. That's
Great.
fine.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good
thanks so
night.
much. Bye. Okay, other business. We have, I see we have people from Goddard here. Are they for Countryway or Elder Road or both?
We're here for 1297 Country
Or
Ave or
neither.
Central Ave.
They're here for an
We're here
enforcement.
for neither. Correct.
Oh, you're here for an enforcement order? Did I not write that on? Oh, well, why don't you tell us about the enforcement order? So, because I just feel like when people are here waiting, we should move them along.
Well, we
What's-
also have Tim
All right.
Hood here as well.
That's all right. We'll talk to Goddard Consultant first. What happens?
Either way, we're fine. So, hi, I'm Tom Schutz from Goddard Consulting. I'm here on behalf of the applicant or it's not an applicant, it's a cease and desist order at this point for 1297 Central Ave. Clay sent the homeowner a cease and desist order after the homeowner repaired a retaining wall in the back of the property.
Is that that's the end of the story? Do we have any photos? What do we have? Clay, do you want to talk about your end?
Yep, I'm just switching gears. I just need need a moment between the.
Between the log cabin? Sorry.
Let's see. So a couple weeks ago, we received a call about work being done at 1297 Central Avenue. We did go meet with an abutter and observe the property from the neighboring parcel, and noticed that they were doing work on a retaining wall. The retaining wall appeared to have blown out, so they were making repairs to that, but the extent of disturbance continued down into the back of the yard within, well within the buffer zone, the 100-foot, the 50-foot, the 25-foot, and possibly into the wetland itself.
Uh-oh.
I can pull up first. What I'll do is I'll pull up, we had a previous filing for this property. I believe as part of that, the construction of the original retaining wall was permitted. And it does show a delineation from, I think, I want to say 2015 maybe. But here in this plan, you can see that we have Central Ave here at the bottom. There's a house that was built here, kind of an upper yard above the retaining wall. The wetland falls here kind of between these two properties and extended back, at least at the time of the original application and delineation. And this area down here, per the order of conditions, was allowed to be maintained as a meadow, mowed no more than twice a year. I believe there was a limitation on the times of year that it could be mowed to protect birding habitat. And then lawn up here was approved kind of in perpetuity. There were also 4 bounds that were placed as part of that, like no disturb. Let me pull up a couple photos here. So from the neighboring property, we could see that the retaining wall was being rebuilt. There was a blowout up top, and down below you can see that the area primarily had been disturbed throughout. This is the portion where they were doing retaining wall work. I believe that larger area of the retaining wall had been rebuilt per the landscaper that was doing the work. Apparently there was a lot of issues with the existing retaining wall. It was maybe not done to the highest quality. So at that time, we did issue a cease and desist for further disturbances, but we asked them to put in erosion controls and continue fixing the retaining wall because we didn't want to leave it prone to further blowing out. So my guess is that they've done that they've completed the retaining wall at this point. From down below, you can see there's a kind of wet, almost like stream bed here, and the disturbance extends all through the backyard. Here's the retaining wall and house. So this is primarily within the 150 and 25-foot buffer zones. This was, again, the area that was intended to be a meadow. So we weren't expecting to see any mature woody vegetation growing up in this area, since I believe it had been relatively maintained. Before this property was acquired by the current homeowner, it may have been overgrown a bit more than just a meadow. It might have been a couple of years since its last real maintenance. And it continues kind of to the back of the parcel. Again, here's what appears to be kind of a stream area. The as-built plan showed wetlands maybe extending a little bit out into here. Our discussion again with the landscaper on site and the property owner who was not available in person at the property was that they should put in erosion controls around the areas of disturbance along the wetland area and around the retaining wall, and then come to this meeting to discuss what the end goal is and any remediation that needs to be done I guess at your discretion.
Is this area all cleared or is just flattened because it's a meadow?
So I believe that it was relatively flat to begin with. It was meant to be a meadow. It was a gradual change in grade through the back area. So below the retaining wall, this area had been relatively flat according to the landscaper. They had not done any significant moving of dirt. It was just I think the intention was to reestablish the vegetation down there, kind of give it a clean, fresh seed bed.
So is the homeowner here or it's just being represented by the Goddard consultant?
That's correct. I don't believe the homeowner is here. I didn't see them on the Zoom. It's just us that's representing them right now.
I emailed the owner is in Singapore. And so it's 12 hours difference. So it's 12 o'clock in the morning there. I'm sorry, 7 o'clock in the morning there. And she had to bring her kids to school. So she said she wouldn't be able to make it.
Okay. Have you spoken to the owners and explained, because they're relatively new owners, I think that this is in the fall, they maybe purchased this property, and explained the wetlands and the value of the meadow and all of the important pieces about the resource areas?
Yep, they're now aware of the resource areas and the Massachusetts wetland protection laws that are in effect, and also the Needham wetland protection bylaw. Also, I'd like to note that the work on the retaining wall is complete at this point. It was somewhat minor. It was only a small section right here that was actually rebuilt. But there had to be a backhoe in this section in order to rebuild this one small area. And that's where primarily all the disturbance is.
And I asked Clay, didn't they contact you a few months ago or something? Weren't they kind of in the know?
Yeah, so I believe it was while they were in the process of purchasing the property in October, they had reached out about potential projects that they might be able to do. Most of that work was focused less on the meadow area and more up along the house, such as what, either additions or like little patio work, hardscaping they could do within the upper lawn area. So we do have communications back in October about that. And then it wasn't until now that we learned of the activity. The homeowners we've primarily been in contact with via email, via writing, I think in part due to the geographical distance as well as the time change, the time zones that we're dealing with. They have been cooperative, and they were certainly happy to follow whatever our recommendations were. So they did have the landscaper meet with me after we issued the notice of violation, just to review to stake out the extent of erosion controls going in. But they did have conversations earlier on about potential future work. It seems that maybe they didn't quite understand the gravity of doing the work without a permit or what the final process was. We didn't have that full conversation beyond just coming back to talk to us when they're getting ready to do work. So
They
I'd
didn't
also
take
like to
any
note
trees.
something. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
That's okay. They
I
didn't
just
take
want
any
to note
trees
one more
down, right?
thing. No trees were taken down on property. And I'd also like to note that there is straw wattle now lining the edge of disturbance all the way around the property. So,
Good. All the way up there?
yeah, this is the whole meadow that was disturbed essentially.
Oh, that whole area has been disturbed? That whole area was disturbed to get a backhoe in?
I believe that in conversation with the landscaper, it was also to reestablish this area had been wildly overgrown and not in the same meadow state. I'm not sure the homeowner realized that it had to remain as a meadow either, but it was not mature woody vegetation that was back here. This had been previously disturbed with or prior to the past application back in 2015 or 16. And so it was allowed to be mowed twice a year through this area, kind of below the retaining wall and back to the back property line. To the extent that it was meadow. I don't have any photos available right now of what that previous state looked like.
But it's not a meadow now. I mean, it should be a meadow, but the backhoe has taken away the meadow characteristics. But it's gonna be put back to be a meadow.
Yes, we would like to propose it be put back to a meadow with a seed mix and additional plantings that are native to the region.
The meadows have plantings?
Well, we'd also like to propose some maybe wetland plants that would border the edge of this sort of stream area here and kind of either prevent any erosion from the soil that's already currently there from actually entering the stream and hold down that situation right there. And then also add some kind of conservation seed mix, a lot of it to be exact, to this entire area back.
A lot of it.
Yeah,
That's the,
in order
the
for it to
definition.
be. Yeah, exactly. I don't have a specific amount in mind right now, as this is a bit of a preliminary thing. So adding seed mix to this entire section, what used to be a meadow, I think would be the good first steps for sure.
Okay, putting it back to, okay, commission members, Peter?
Yeah, so this is, from my perspective, very disappointing that this happened. I mean, I think we in the commission often prioritize habitats that involve trees, but meadows are just as important for habitat of animals as in fact, these days even more important. And I think the original spirit of the order way back when was to maintain this in that spirit. The fact that it's been entirely decimated and cleared is not unlike a clear cutting situation. At least it can be restored more quickly. But I think also, given the timeframes we were talking about with this, establishing it in the other project, establishing the conservation seed mix, I mean, it's got to be done quickly. And I'm concerned with this much disturbance that invasives are going to take over right away before people have a chance to actually do something about it. So are we talking about fines? I guess that's what I'm asking.
We can certainly talk about fines.
Because I think this is a clear-cut case where that's called for.
Okay, that's good. Good to hear. Anything else, Peter? We'll come back to you, I think.
No, that's all. Thank you.
Stephen?
No comment.
Artie?
Clay, wanted to check with you again. What was the conversation last fall regarding?
Last fall, it was about future projects at the site, potentially doing some like hardscape patio work, primarily above the retaining wall. I believe my recollection is that the conversation began with a real estate attorney or a real estate agent on behalf of the homeowner, because they were in the process of purchasing. And so I think it began as a bit of due diligence, a bit of, if we purchase this property, is this something in the realm of something that would be approved in the future? I don't believe that our emails fully covered the process for filing the notice of intent, because it was far more preliminary in nature, but we did discuss having them come back before us when they were ready to start moving forward with those projects so we could get them through the permit process.
And Clay, from as best as you can tell from your observation, was this retaining wall collapsing, or was it being taken down to have a sloped area down to this future grass area, for example?
It definitely looked like it was addressing a failure in the retaining wall. There are portions of the retaining wall, the original retaining wall, that had not been disturbed. And according to the discussion with the landscapers, they were in the process of reestablishing the retaining wall. There was portions of it, I think, that were rebuilt, but they were in the same location. So it was not an intent, at least by observation, it wasn't the intention to remove the retaining wall outright and level everything, but rather just to reestablish and resecure that retaining wall.
But it's clear that this whole meadow area has been regraded or taken up, basically. That's clear.
Yeah, according to the landscaper, they did not do any significant moving of topography. That what we see here is just taking the top layer and removing the vegetation. And I believe that this area still gently slopes as it did on that as-built. This was an area that was lower than the rest of the yard. So I don't think that there's been significant regrading of this area, but rather just recomposing what the top is, in this case, just loose soils.
But I mean, did they scrape the top layer off and ship it away, for example? Make it go
Yeah, I
away?
don't know what was done with that top layer of vegetation, but that's what it appears. I don't know if it was just tilled, but as you can see, there's not a lot of vegetation matter remaining here, so it could just be that the top layer was removed. In
So
that
it's
or something.
okay. So it almost looks like it's being prepped for a new surface, if I could put it that way. Almost like a new surface.
Yeah, does it look like it's being prepped for sod and a lawn? Do you think that was the intention at one point?
It's hard to say. The landscaper was not under the impression that he was going to be installing like green lawn, but rather reestablishing a meadow area. It sounded more
Oh,
like,
he thought he was reestablishing a meadow area.
yeah, that's what he said on site. And that was the impression that I got, that it was not meant to level it out and put, say, like a large soccer field there, but rather, he did say that it had been overgrown. I don't know how much of that might have been invasive, but I'm guessing it was no longer, at least what the homeowner considered to be an aesthetic meadow, but rather reestablishing it to something that doesn't actually need mowing every 2 weeks. That was the impression that I got with discussions from the landscaper.
Thank you. Artie, anything else?
Gina, thank you.
Allison? We can't hear you for some reason, though. You're not on mute.
I guess I share the concern that they're prepping for lawn and not wet meadow and don't know what wet meadow is. And I also would like to say that wet meadow, like Peter said, is really important. And there are not many open, sunny, wet meadows anywhere. It's a rare, wonderful thing that has its own habitat. So this truly is a wet meadow. And I hope they didn't compact it when they removed, the soil, because when you work the soil, you go over the soil this time of year, it's not a good idea. You can ruin the structure. So before they do seed it, I hope that they loosen it up a little bit, let it dry out a little bit. I don't know if that's even possible. That's a little better, but and that they seed it with the right seed mix. And take care of it so it'll germinate and not just grow a whole bunch of, knotweed. So I don't know.
Hey,
So what,
Allison, does anything on top of this, or just let it be at this point? Does anything that added needed to be added back on top of this level, this layer, or just let it be at this point?
It looks like it's got a bit of organic in it, which would make sense if it's a wet meadow, because it's just the organic just sits there, the leaves and whatever, and grasses and whatever they took away, probably if they only mowed it twice a year. There probably was a lot of, detritus that rotted, which makes loam over time. But, I don't think they took away any. It looks like they probably just messed it up with the machine, I can kind of see ruts and compacted soil, etc. And so when they do the final prep to put the wet meadow in, they have to kind of loosen it up a little bit and level it out a little bit and get rid of the ruts. But they don't have to add fertilizer or more organic matter. It looks pretty organic to me. I mean, generally you don't need to do that in a situation like this. It's not like you're trying to grow, golf course, which needs incredible amount of organic matter and fertilizer and everything else. So I think it should do okay if they get it in soon and they loosen it up a little bit. and put some hay blanket over it and water it if there's no rain. I mean, that's why you want to put this stuff in early as possible, like in April, because that's when the rain, you know, how rainy has it been, right? You want to actually do it early April. And then the rains come when actually it's not that wet. And then the rains come and then it takes like 3 weeks to a month to germinate. So the later you do it, the little baby plants come up and it's July and then they just bake and die. So you want to get it in while the soil is still, wet, and you get those rains because it's really hard to water all that. It looks like a big area, like to hand
So,
water all that.
We have so there's an enforcement order here, right? And so I assume that instead of having them do a notice of intent, we can just require them to plant the seed like immediately. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? And then maybe we can have Clay and Deb kind of be the
Yeah.
the
And I
approvers.
think they should put a hay blanket with cotton netting on it to ensure that it's shaded and the moisture, it's kept the seed down and keeps the moisture in. Because how are people in Singapore going to water it every day? I mean, they're not going to do it, right? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, if they,
Well, probably, maybe they'll have somebody else water it.
I know, but you know what I'm saying. They're not watching it.
They're not paying attention.
It's hard to do that when you're not there. So I think that, instead of a super duper enforcement, they should insist that they have a hay, do it properly, really do a good seed bed, a lot of seed, like maybe 1.5 times, and loosen it up and prepare it properly and put a nice hay blanket with cotton netting on it and take care of it. Because that's not going to be cheap. It's a big area.
Yeah, it's a big area.
I don't know
So-
if they know what they bitten off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as tonight and our actions, are we able to give the consultants direction on our enforcement order, requiring them to have the owners seed and all of Allison's recommendations basically immediately, because it's now April 28th and
Almost,
we've
it's
got-
almost like, yeah.
and is that something that we're able to do?
Next week? I mean, can they do it next week?
I mean, are we able to make this happen tonight? I don't know the rules. So from the rules point of view, are we able to make this happen tonight?
I mean, you
Yes.
had an order, you could make it, but I don't know if you can do it as part of an enforcement. That's another question.
I believe that restorative actions under the enforcement order is something you can do. In fact, I think DEP's guidance generally is no longer to issue an after the fact notice of intent. An active violation still exists. So my recommendation would be to move to issue an enforcement order outlining the activities that need to occur to bring this back into compliance, and then expect them to come back before us with a notice of intent for future work, should they want to pursue some of the projects we discussed back in October.
I think we should give a schedule as well, and then if they don't meet it and take care of it, then you have a fine.
Yeah, and I think that they need to come back to us. I'm not sure the time frame to show us photographs of this meadow growing.
Well, they should have Goddard monitor it. We should be getting
Mhm.
reports from them, instead of putting it on us to watch over it,
Exactly,
in my opinion.
yeah. Okay.
No, I agree with all that. Does any other commission members have any thoughts on this? And anybody from the applicant side want to add anything?
I would just like to ask for a little bit of leniency on the next week of planting this, just because they are in Singapore right now. So the communication between me and the applicant would be a little bit harder to do. So yeah, I'm just asking for a little bit of that, just a little leniency on that calendar that Allison provided or spoke about.
So can you get back to Deb and Clay with a schedule? And then maybe we see if
Yeah.
that's possible. I mean, the thing is,
I'll try
if you wait till May 22nd or the last week of May to seed, you're gonna be in trouble.
No,
And they-
I definitely agree with you on that. And I understand the urgency of our situation here and this entire enforcement. It was just trying to get in contact with them, and they're overseas, and the stark contrast of times, as we spoke to earlier in the meeting, is just a bit difficult.
And when I said in trouble, I didn't mean in trouble and by a fine. I mean in trouble that you're not gonna get the seed to grow.
Yep, no, I understood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just gonna become invasives and as Peter mentioned, and it's just, they're never gonna get a hold of it if it becomes invasive. So it's critical to bring this meadow back as fast as they can. So, but that's why I'm hoping that we can give some, have the enforcement order tonight that we're voting on, but give I think, oversight of it to Clay and Deb so that when the applicant, I don't think that we want to specifically list exactly what they have to do. I think the applicant needs to come to us with a planting plan and a schedule. But I would like Clay and Deb to be able to review that and approve it on behalf of the commission. And maybe they can ask Allison's opinion along the way.
Allison,
if
how
you
do
would
you
like, I
feel
can-
about them adding shrubs to it? Or do we just want to keep it meadow or?
I mean, I think if you add shrubs where the little trees are, that's okay, but where it's open and sunny,
Yeah, okay.
then I think, it's wet, but that's just a whole nother ecosystem in it. With the birds and the frog, all kinds of animals live in that. I mean, it's really, and it's not that common because New England wants to be woods, There aren't that many open meadows. There's a lot.
Allison or Janet, Slifer, if it sounds like when we're talking about come back to us with a planting plan or even Clay and Deb, it sounds like, to me, that sounds like weeks
Yeah, I
ticking
know.
away
Don't
because,
worry about that.
we just want this thing planted with a meadow mix that we already know. Allison, you already know what you want it planted.
Yeah, the
with.
shrubs can go in later. I mean, that's not a big deal. It's the seed.
Yeah, Artie,
Yeah,
I was
but
just
they
about to
can-
speak to that. Oh, sorry. I can get Clay and Deb a planting plan by Wednesday, if that would be sufficient for the commission, just to get the ball rolling on this all. Maybe not get the approval of the applicant, but at least submit something to you so you could look it over and have something in hand that we're ready to go with as soon as we get the applicant to sign off on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna basically be having them in parallel track. You have to have your client buy in, and you have to have the commission, which will be Clay and Deb's authorization, also buy in.
Can you get it by Tuesday? Because I'm having cataract surgery on Wednesday. I won't be able to see anything. So if you want
Yeah, I
me
could
to,
try and get it for
I
Tuesday.
have patch on my eye, so, and I'm supposed to close my other eye for a day and 2 days, or I don't know what it is, but if it could be Tuesday, Deb. and-
All right. I'll try and get it for Tuesday because I would like Allison to look at it as well. I do think her input is important.
All right, send it to my office, because I'm gonna be busting butts.
Thank
to
you.
Do my work on Tuesday at the office.
I think that is very fair. So are we ready to move off of this particular topic? I know that Peter also brought up the idea of a fine, which I think is appropriate for this situation. Do we do that now, or do we wait and so we can have this discussion and we can go through the rest of our agenda? Can we close this for the moment? Are we ready to just?
I would
So
rather not.
you're basically gonna vote to ratify the enforcement order.
Oh, okay.
Is what so the fines is a separate.
The fine is a
Okay,
separate,
so
I
So we
don't-
need to vote, we need a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Just before you do that, we do have one member from the public who's interested in speaking.
Okay, thank you, Clay. All right, bring them on.
They're listed as Gideon Senderov. I will promote them in just a moment.
Gideon, if you can hear us, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Actually, I guess I can put the video on as well. All right. Oh. Hi, sorry about the lighting here.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm actually the neighbor next door. So I'm the one who contacted Clay and alerted him about this. There are actually two things that are in question over here. One of them is the disturbance of the wetland, which was discussed at some capacity. The other one is actually the impact on my property, which if you can bring the picture back up, the whole area where the water is collecting, that's actually already my property. So what happened is I actually moved into the area about 1.5 years ago. We moved here. And yes, a few months ago, this other property was purchased. And then with, yeah, it actually, in real life, it looks even worse than this. But in essence, one day, suddenly there was this backhoe and just raising that whole area, creating this, what somebody termed a football field looking thing. In the past, maybe the water was kind of hidden by whatever growth was there, but I never used to see any water there. Suddenly, this whole area became like a swampland. And the thing is, there was also some, maybe not extensive, but there was some slope changes made in addition to what somebody mentioned in terms of packing the dirt. So the backhoe was definitely going back and forth multiple times across that whole area to kind of flatten it. And then there was also some changing of slopes, which as the weather didn't cooperate with them and it started raining, more water was actually shifting towards my side and my retaining wall. Now, my retaining wall is more solid. It's made out of huge rocks, but still there's concern that the lay of the land was actually changed. And in fact, when I contacted the owner, first I went and I spoke with the contractor. I asked him if this was discussed with the Conservation Commission. He said he felt that the owner did that, but nobody could show me any kind of a permit. And I looked for a permit online. I couldn't see any permit. And I definitely had a huge concern that, for one, I was told when I bought the property that basically don't do anything on the wetland. It's kind of protected. And if you want to do anything, you got to go past the Conservation Commission. So I wasn't notified of anything that was going to be done. And there was also no survey to even define where the property line is, which means potentially some of this was actually already encroaching on my property and changing the traffic characteristics on my side. And as it turns out, that the end area where that little stream forms, that's already my property. So more water was kind of being shifted. Yeah, this area at the bottom, this is already my property. So there was definitely a concern regarding what was being done. When I spoke with the contractor, it sounds like, I don't think there was any ill will from either the contractor or the owner, but I think there was either a lack of sufficient communication in terms of what is being implemented versus what is intended. But in essence, what they were going to do is actually further change the slopes and create a sloping area towards the bottom of the left side of the picture where the water eventually goes to. And then I think some gravel was already put on top of the wetland. I think they were going to put some more to aid in irrigation, and then they were going to cover it with some additional dirt and then plant, I guess, some kind of meadow type plants, which, I mean, maybe it sounds reasonable. I said, that's fine, as long as you do it with a permit from the Conservation Commission. And one of the responses was, and again, the responses seemed cooperative. And one of the responses was, well, from the owner, that you will have the contractor put back the dirt that he removed, which I don't know how much or whatever. And I said, absolutely not. It has to go under the monitoring of the Conservation Commission, because I don't know how it's changed the lay of the land in terms of my property. I don't know how it changed the lay of the land in terms of the wetland, because as Clay noted, the wetland itself, not just the buffer zone, was definitely disturbed. So that's where I had some pretty major concerns. And I also had concerns regarding, as the conversation in this meeting was shifting, to start saying, oh, well, let's have quickly plant some seeding and whatever. I think first we need to establish what the proper slopes are and what they were to try and restore the area to what it was. And again, also the scope of the project needs to be defined. If it's discussed with me, I have no problem. If it's something that's within the Conservation Commission review and, and to have it span across the property line, but it has to be discussed with me first. It can't be done just like that and, completely ignoring me, which is what was done.
Thank you. That was very informative. We had not realized that there was another property involved with this enforcement.
Oh, can I interject one last thing? As after the last communication I had with the owner, and I said this has to go through the Conservation Commission, she, besides telling me that she asked for the dirt to be restored, and then she kind of said, oh, okay. She did mention she was going to contact a landscape consultant. So I'm happy to see that Tom is here in the meeting. So she did do that. Oh no, I suddenly lost my train of thought. Oh, she said that she told the contractor to drop what she termed the drainage thingy, which is really what I described, is that slope change downward towards the water, where the water eventually goes to, and the gravel and whatever, that whole thing. I mean, I'm not a landscape architect. I don't know if it's proper or not, but regardless, I mean, I said, absolutely, I don't want any of that to be done without supervision.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. So that definitely adds a little bit of a twist to the whole thing, because it is not just the meadow, but there is the edge of the wetland itself also. I'm not sure if because I know we do want the meadow itself planted quickly. The restoration of the wetland also needs to happen at an appropriate time frame, but I think that there can be a little longer because of the growing season. But commission members, anybody have any further thoughts on the best way to manage that?
Yeah, Janet, one
Yep.
I have is for Gideon. Question: can you give us any sense of how much dirt how many inches were taken out of this area? I know something was put back, but it sounds like something less was scraped off.
Yeah, I don't know exactly because, like I said, I suddenly saw them like going back and forth, in addition to obviously fixing the retaining wall, which I had absolutely no problem with the retaining wall. That's obviously something had to be done. But in terms of how much they removed, I don't know. The only thing, I mean, I can go through some old pictures that I took of the yard to see if I can capture any picture of how it looked. I don't know if I have or not, but because I never expected it to change. So, I mean, all the pictures I have are from after the fact.
Were they loading up dirt on trucks or just spreading it where there's down there, spreading whatever's down there around? Were they actually loading stuff on the trucks and taking stuff away?
I cannot, I don't know. I don't know.
Artie, if I may speak to that, if you look at the plans here and you see the 174 grade, that's around the tree line there, and that's about the highest the land goes. The 172 grade and the 170 grade are about where the land sits right now. It's not that steep of a pitch. It's almost as if the grade has not changed in those areas very much. Maybe a half foot at the absolute most got graded down in the 172 grade range, but I would say that the 174 grade is still about in natural conditions, because that is a natural tree line in that section. And again, we said that no woody plants are actually disturbed in the making of this, in the disturbance of this field.
I have a question.
Okay,
And that is, I heard from Gideon that some gravel was put down. No, you're not permitted to put any fill in wetland areas.
Correct. I
I mean,
saw online.
even if you have notified, you're not allowed to change, not allowed to fill in the wetland areas. So you're saying that they actually filled in some
In
areas.
some
Gideon, what
area
you-
there was, in some area
Sorry,
there's
Gideon,
some
I didn't want to speak
gravel.
over you.
Oh, sorry.
If I may speak to that as well, the retaining wall was repaired with a bit of gravel, a large, almost 1.5-inch stone that might have been accidentally spilled on the ground and then pushed toward Gideon's property. You probably won't see it. Yes, right here. So you can kind of see actually a little bit of the stone kind of lining the edge of the retaining wall right there. That just either didn't get used or was misplaced and not added to the retaining wall itself during construction. Nothing has been filled on purpose and no gravel has been added to the wetland on purpose. That was all for the use of the building of the retaining wall. You can see
I
the gravel
comment?
actually on top of the wall.
Can I comment?
yes, you may, Gideon.
So there's definitely gravel on the other side for the retaining wall, but that's an incorrect statement that there's no gravel on the other side. On the bottom of this picture where you see those big rocks, it's hard to see in this picture, but on the right-hand side, that's a pile of gravel that they placed basically very close to the property line, which I also asked them why they're parking stuff on my property potentially. And they said that they were temporarily putting things over there because they needed space to work on with the backhoe. So they actually clearly on the other side of basically next to my retaining wall, probably now there's still some a pile of gravel sitting over there. And the intent was definitely to put some gravel in the wetland, which this is why when I read the document I saw online, I saw that you're not allowed to change any slopes. You're not allowed to fill with anything. I mean, basically the whole scope of the project is not permitted without a permit from the Conservation Commission.
So
there's definitely some gravel that's been placed in the wetland area.
Yeah, they need to remove that. Anything that's.
They need,
remove that.
So yeah, there were some blocks there. When I asked the contractor to basically immediately leave, get the backhoe out of the wetland area when it became clear that it's not permitted, he was trying to remove a crate of some blocks that were sitting close to my side of the area. He wasn't even able to do it because the area was slip and sliding and his whole backhoe was sliding.
it was a crate of rocks. Did that end up getting moved or did it stay?
I don't know. I can take a look. I can take a look and find out. At the time they stayed.
I can speak to that. It's a small stockpile of the same rock that was used to build the actual retaining wall itself. It's just a stockpile. It's right outside of the wetlands. Actually, the wetland is actually more towards the left-hand side of the picture, following the retaining wall. It's just outside of the retaining wall itself, but that can be removed. It wasn't meant to fill any wetlands. It was strictly meant as a stockpile area in this sense.
Okay, so any material that was brought in as fill will need to be removed as part of this enforcement order. And I'm not, Clay or Deb, do you believe that you're gonna be able to go out on this site and be comfortable knowing if there was material brought in or if it was material moved around and how much material gets removed, or is it? I'm not quite sure how to repair the wetland issue as well as repair the meadow in a timely fashion. So I don't know if they have to happen together because the meadow is adjacent to the wetland and we're gonna miss this whole growing season if we're gonna plan on what's gonna happen to that wetland, because that also has to get repaired.
Well, you can.
That's why I.
Oh, sorry. You could do it.
That's why I
Allison?
proposed.
Wait,
these
Allison?
plants to the-
Tom, hold on, Allison?
If you miss the season let's just say, worst case scenario, this gets tangled up and they have to go in and, pull stuff out, and it takes longer than everybody expected, and we're into June. You can seed with the temporary seed mix, and then you come back in September and you seed with the permanent seed mix. This is
Okay.
possible to double. It's more expensive, but that's a way to stabilize the meadow during the summer. You can come in,
Okay.
it's done all the time, but it's a more laborious and expensive solution.
Tom, you had something to add?
Yep, I was just gonna add that as part of the wetland restoration, I had noted that we were gonna add shrubs to the edge near the wetland. That could be added to our wetland replication / meadow restoration plan that we're proposing. And going along with what Allison had said earlier is that we put the seed mix down immediately as a note in our restoration plan, and then add the plantings such as blueberry and other plants that are native to the region, maybe a bit afterwards in, say, June, as in when we're going to be putting the seed mix down almost immediately. So we will still be restoring this under our restoration plan, but putting the seed mix in immediately is, I think, what Allison and myself feel is most necessary in order to reestablish the back disturbance, as opposed to this small section where the fill was added / the rocks were put. The
Do we
rocks
need
can also
any-
be added as a. I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
the rocks can also be added as a part of our restoration plan as well. Or sorry, the rocks can also be removed as part of our restoration plan as well. That can be added in as potentially the first step after the seeding of the area out here. The rock removal and any other fill material that was used to build the retaining wall, that can all be added as the first step in the restoration.
My only concern is that fill material was added to the meadow. Is there any fill material added to the meadow that needs to be removed? And do we need large equipment out there?
I don't think we're going to need any large equipment out there. The equipment I think the rock stockpile can probably be shoveled out by hand. None of the actual small rock has made it into the meadow area. It kind of just stuck around the base of the retaining wall and in the stockpile area, which is down in the right-hand corner, which is just out of the frame here. A lot of that can just be shoveled out by hand. I don't think there needs to be an actual machine to come in and take it out, especially and it's so close to the wetland down there. I don't think we want to have any actual machinery going in there.
And Gideon, from your opinion on seeing the material that's there, do you think it can be shoveled out by hand?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'm not a landscape person. I mean, you can know.
I mean,
they may be able
Is
to.
it bigger than a car? It might be hard to do, but if it's smaller than a car, it might not be so hard.
Yeah, they might be able to do that.
It's a little smaller than a car with just some extra rock that's kind of skewing around the base of the retaining wall, and that stockpile again is about a little smaller than a car. It's probably a two-man job for sure. It's going to take a while, but I think it can be done.
I think my concern is there's definitely that well-defined stockpile that can be seen, but my understanding was that some gravel was actually already placed not too far from that area in the meadow area. So that would be a little more intricate if you're trying to separate that from the muddy substance that's around it.
Clay or Deb, are one of you available to go out and walk this property and get an extent of the damage that has been done and
We can go out
assist?
together
Yeah.
next week.
I mean, maybe meeting Tom out there
Mhm.
and
Yeah, absolutely.
come up
I'm
with a
available
plan.
anytime next week. If Clay or Deb want, I'll reach out to you guys after this meeting or tomorrow, and we can set up a time if that works with the commission.
Because we don't want to hold this up. So the more that can get resolved quickly with our our staff. And Gideon, would you like to be made aware of the process? Maybe you can email Deb or Clay and they can be in contact with you. Any work, obviously, that's happening on your property, you need to approve. So would that work for you if they contacted you directly? I don't know if they don't already have your information, maybe you can email them and give them.
Yeah, no, I've reached out to both of them before, and I did hear back from both of them, and Clay actually came by that same day to look at the property. So yeah, I am in communication with both. Definitely would welcome the opportunity to stay involved in this. Like I said, my main concern is just making sure that the area is restored to the proper thing, whatever that is, as opposed to just kind of a wild, wild west type thing that,
Right.
whatever, you know.
Yeah. Well, they are both experts and professionals, and they will be able to give good advice on what should be happening here, I believe. And I think they're going to rope Allison in as well as her volunteer job, being a landscape architect.
One quick question.
Yes.
Whatever is done as part of the project, is it reasonable to request that they either, like you said, they either kind of make sure that when it gets to the property line, figure out kind of something joint, or otherwise they do need to have a survey as opposed to just a spec? Because that was part of my original concern also, that the contractor, they had the spec for their property. They did not have a spec for my property. So they had no understanding of what is the potential impact on my property. And they never did a survey in terms of where the property line is.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they obviously need your permission to be working on your property. So that's something that I'm sure the applicant with their consultant will want to be working with you on, to make sure that whether there's a survey that needs to happen to understand where the boundary is, or you can come to a mutual agreement on the work that has to happen, that they will be performing.
And maybe require
if you-
that they put the conservation decals on the wall, if that's gonna be the limit of where they're able to disturb, or
Yeah.
just to make it known that that's conservation area.
Gideon, if you would like, I can also send you the restoration plan that I'm going to be submitting by Tuesday, just so you could take a look at it. I'm probably going to be putting kind of shrubs in that area. So if you would like to take a look at that plan, make sure you're okay with everything that's going in there, I think that would be more than welcome.
definitely appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Great. It's nice if we could all work well together. That's awesome. Have we done our voting on this?
We still have to vote to issue the enforcement order. The special conditioning that I have currently based on the discussion is for the property owners and their consultants to work with staff to review and approve seeding, either permanent or temporary, for the meadow area, monitoring both short-term and to be amended in the future under this enforcement order, replacement of the markers to be placed at the top of the retaining walls, and review with the consultants and staff of the extent of any fill and debris, both within the wetland area and the buffer zones.
And work with the butter.
Them coming back.
You add working with the abutter for any work
the
that was
abut-
done on the abutting property, to consult with the coordinate, consult with, contact.
Yeah, so coordination with the abutter to the extent that it transcends the property line,
Yes.
with review and ratification, a timeline of at latest the May 26th Conservation Commission meeting. So that gives us essentially a 4-week period to work with staff, consultants, and the abutter to review the current on-site conditions, remedy either short-term or long-term, either a temporary seating or permanent meadow seating, depending on what's appropriate based on site conditions, and then bringing that information back to the commission for the May 26th meeting to be amended into an amended enforcement order if necessary.
So will the work have been done during that month?
Ideally, there will have been seeding that's done, either a permanent seeding of meadow, native meadow species, or a temporary seeding to get us through to September if we cannot come to a, if it appears that there's significant grading that needs to be addressed.
Allison? You're on mute.
If it's temporarily seeded because of site conditions, that then they would have to do a permanent seeding in the fall.
Yeah, and so that would be amended under the May 26th meeting review.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
Okay. How does that sound to everybody? We're all in agreement. Great. So you need a vote on that, which says, I move to ratify. Is that the wording?
Motion to issue the enforcement order with those specified conditions, I guess.
Yeah, it's ratify.
Can I have a motion?
I move that we ratify the enforcement
order.
order as amended.
Can I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor? Peter?
Hi,
Stephen?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Okay, that was long. Thank you very much. I'm
Thank you,
sure we'll
everybody.
be seeing all of you again. And it would be nice to know that the homeowner definitely is aware of all of the various situations that are happening. Okay, Tim Hood, sorry that we have kept you. I think it didn't know that that was gonna take as long as it did. Before we do our other certificate of compliance, we can talk about the Needham Golf Club, and I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about, but here we are.
Hi, Tim Wood, Superintendent, the Needham Golf Club at 25 Green Street. I had a site visit with Debbie last week about the, I just learned today it's called the Birds Hill Brook that runs through the golf course. It's on one of the town maps.
It has a name.
I just saw it on the town
It's an
maps, yeah.
asphalt, but it has a name.
It has an asphalt lining, yes. And so I gave Debbie some pictures. I could try to share my computer screen. I'm not as good as Rafe, I think, but I'll give it a shot.
He was very good, wasn't he?
He was excellent. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, I have the town map here of the golf course. This is the Harris Ave here. We have the brook, which is a asphalt lined brook that runs through the golf course that goes eventually under the commuter rail. Debbie and I came by here where there's two locations, right? As the water enters the property through.
Wait, I'm not quite seeing this right. I'm only seeing, I don't know if others are having the same time. I'm only seeing like half of it, and then I see a lot of green.
Okay, let me see if I can slide it over. Is that better?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm not the only one that's having this trouble.
All right,
Maybe hit your little square.
let me make it bigger.
Oh, that's better. Okay.
Okay, all right, good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, start again.
so we have the brook that, if you can see where my cursor is. Where the pointer is the brook runs through the 8th hole here, which is north of the commuter rail. It's a 10-foot wide asphalt line underneath the brook on two sections of the perimeter of the brook. We are having some erosion issues. And I'll show some pictures of that. See the pictures? Let me see.
Yeah.
So if you can
What
see,
hole is this on?
this is on the 8th hole. So this is the water coming off of the Harris Ave area. And this is the asphalt liner right there. And at this area right here is where we're losing material from just the rainstorms. It's becoming a little bit of a hazard. There's another spot right here, further down, a little further down before we get to a walkway bridge where it's happening. What's happening is there's some buildup in the area, and I think it's diverting water more to the side.
Right.
It's causing it to wash out this area here.
So it's undercutting the bank on the opposite side.
Correct. So we're just trying to see what we could, if there's something that we could do to repair that.
Do you have the straight on picture that shows under the bank?
Under the bank.
If not, I sent them to Clay as well.
Yeah, maybe Clay might have that one.
Yep, I'm just gonna take over this screen.
Yeah, good, because I don't know. I'm done.
I apologize, I'm not sure why these photos are so small, but if you let me know which one to stop on, I can zoom in.
That one would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the same side. So there's, I was standing on the bridge and facing the opposite way. So that's the opposite side of what's happening.
Mhm.
To that side of the brook, and a little further up by the bridge is where it is still, the material is still there, the banking's still there, which I'm from what you can see, it's gonna eventually go away through the next couple of rainstorms. It's gonna keep getting pushed down. So I think long-term, we might need to see what we can do to fix the bankings along the whole Brook Way. But right now, the club was looking to see if we could do some kind of temporary repair on the two areas that have created like a hole in, so we don't start losing some of the asphalt from breaking down.
Is the bank asphalt or is that dirt?
That's dirt. So that's a buildup of dirt. The whole area has been raised, the brick was built, I think, in the 60s. And for 60 years of sediment coming through that area, I think it just sort of builds it up and has built up that area quite high. Because if you go out about another 5 feet wider, the elevations drops a little bit. So the land kind of tapered down towards the edges of the asphalt, but then raised up quite a bit at the bankings because I assume because of the sediment that's been pushed through there and settles.
I think the sediment is coming from the street.
Or the
Yeah,
other, in the other side, there's a whole area on the other side of Harris Ave. So.
So I originally met him because they're going to be doing another project. And so they have, who did you hire for your wetlands consultant?
We've hired Beals and Thomas we're planning to do an irrigation system.
So I had suggested that he have them look at this whole area and, come up with a permanent plan,
Yep.
to file with us at some point. So he's just looking at more of a temporary fix until they come back with a permanent solution.
Do you have a thought what you want this temporary fix to look like, Tim?
The looks doesn't matter. anything that if you could recommend, at some.
Allison's raising her hand.
Allison again, this is a night for you.
So there is a product, which is a low tech product called densely packed coir rolls that they plant in. So it's like a big sausage that's made out of, I think it's coconut, and they actually plant in it. And
that's a great idea.
This is built up too much. It's too steep. You have to kind of pull some of this down, and then you could do a few layers of them and they're planted. And you stake them in, and then you don't have, you have, you know, like a bigger plant, you know, more of a, not, you know, bluegrass,
Right.
you know. But you have to do a little work on the side because it's too steep, it's built up too much. And I mean, that's a temporary solution. It's a low-tech solution. What happens it used to happen in things like this is they would say, oh, we have this, you know, this asphalt or concrete channel. And it's self-cleaning. It doesn't, you know, because the water comes down and pulls all the silt down, and you have the problem, it goes downstream. It doesn't collect in this, you know, in the channel. That's why they did it. And then you have erosion, and then they put stone on the bank, and you have this even worse problem downstream. Because what you want to do is to try to slow it down a little bit when you have these big rain events. And the best thing to slow and filter it is to have living stuff, you know, soil and living plants. So it still can be breached, it still can erode, but it's a lot more, you know, it's that the plants have much bigger and heftier fibrous roots that they grow in these quarry, and you can pack them up, sausage, you know, on a slope. And they're specifically for, now I don't know if Beals and Thomas is going to suggest this, but they know their stuff. I mean, they're going to have a couple of different solutions, but that's something that is a low-tech solution. And
Yeah, the core logs are good. Have you seen them, Tim? Do you know what she means?
No, I haven't.
So it's spelled
fine, vegetated with a grow in, yeah.
Hold on, Tim, it's spelled COIR. So
Okay.
you just do a Google search on what that is.
Okay.
And you'll see, because I just want to make sure you get the spelling right, because otherwise you'll never figure it out. And that's a great idea, actually, and it can be a temporary.
They have ones they don't plant in, and they have ones that they have planted. So, yeah. And you want
That's something that we could try to work on those two locations now for a temporary fix.
Yeah, and you just stake them in, and they'll grow, and it'll be a little messier. This is like sort of looks like England. You know, it'll be a little rougher because it won't have the soft little tiny little grass in it that you mow. You know, it'll be more herbaceous stuff growing out of it, which is, I think, would be nicer. It'd be more natural looking.
More of a challenge to get across.
Yeah, and how high does it grow to?
Well, it depends on what
you buy.
What
they plant. Sometimes they have woody material. Sometimes they just have herbaceous, like soft, like
right.
You know,
Herbaceous, yeah.
irises and grasses, and you know, but it's going to be taller than this little tiny little grass. I mean, it's not going to look like that.
Sure. Well, those areas are about a foot and a half below that grade anyway. So that should be fine for a temporary fix.
But you can't have it be on a vertical slope. I mean, this is almost vertical in here.
Well, the picture that you see is not the area that I would be working on now. It'd only be the two other, if you want to,
see that, and the other thing is that if you consider doing this all the way down, it roughens up the edge, so it slows down the water.
Yeah.
All the way
Right
down.
there, Clay.
Yeah.
So just in that area right there where it's a hole, and it's actually at the point of the bridge that we repaired. That's where the concern was, where the erosion would continue. And
It looks like something is built up to the left that's pushing it to that side.
that is well, see, so that is just material that's eventually I think is going to move from water pushing through. That's the next section where it has not been eroded from that prior picture. If that area is removed, then the water would stay in the center of the asphalt and not push to the side.
That's right.
If I can do that, that would make it easier too.
I still think you should try this idea because it roughens up and slows.
Yeah,
the
I'd
water.
like to try that. I mean, would it be okay to remove that larger area in the center, just so we can keep the water staying more in the center of the asphalt
I would say yes. I would say yes. My one person.
Yeah, so because he's working in a wetland has an asphalt bottom, what does he need to do something temporarily? Is this, does he need to file a notice of intent to do a temporary fix? Like what are the rules?
Well, that's kind of, I'm kind of thinking of this as kind of like a kind of temporary emergency
Yeah,
type of thing.
Yeah.
Because like he
Mhm.
said, a couple rainstorms and it's gonna
Right, it makes-
fail.
Mhm.
So I think something temporary such as the core logs, I think that you can approve just, administratively as kind of an emergency action.
Okay,
Um,
that works.
and then
Any-
as he works with Beals and
Bills and
Thomas,
Thomas,
yeah,
they'll come up with a more permanent solution.
yeah, I mean, they're gonna need to get rid of that area of sediment on the left-hand side that's causing it to
Push.
deter from the actual channel. So there is buildup of sediment, but that removal, I think, would need a notice of intent filing.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's amazing how strong water is. Gonna end up with the Grand Canyon there at some point. Any other commission members have any comments? Artie,
No, I'm good.
Steven,
No comment.
Peter?
No comment.
Are we?
And I'm
in
happy to be
agreement-
on site when you're
Yeah,
installing these or,
Sure,
to
okay.
help along.
are we in agreement that this can be considered an emergency repair under administrative review? Is that okay? Do we need a vote on that? I assume.
Sure.
Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the emergency repairs to the Needham Golf Course channel as discussed.
So moved.
Second, okay, all in favor, Allison,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
and aye, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience tonight.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay, Diane, sorry, have you been there this whole time? Next on our agenda is, Diane, are you here for both 160 Country Way as well as 124 Elder Road?
Yes.
Looks like it. Okay, thank you for your patience. Okay,
Busy night.
160 Country Way, DP file number 234394. They are here for a certificate of compliance, and
We are.
who's gonna talk first? Diane or Deb or Clay or?
I was gonna say, who else is here? I wasn't sure if the homeowner was here. So I can share our screen if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, let me just make sure I get the right plan. If it wants to say share. So let me just enlarge this a little bit for you all so it's easier viewing. So basically the notice of intent that was filed years ago for this particular home was for the garage. And what we find today is the garage is in the right place. The only change we find or additional work is this walkway in the back here. And this is a brick walkway that was also added, which brings, and actually it was the deck as well. The deck was in this notice of intent as well. So again, the deck and the garage was built as proposed. It was the walkway that we find different than the notice of intent. There was infiltration added based on what the homeowner remembers. Again, there was an infiltration. He doesn't know exactly what size, but there was one added under the driveway, which his belief was servicing the, there is a trench drain right in front of the garage. It went doors. And then there was an additional one up front here, which serviced the downspouts. Again, the order of condition, and do forgive me, I forgot, it's more than, it has expired. I don't know exactly when it was.
2017.
Thank you.
Sure.
And again, the plans look slightly different in the sense of where the location of the items are, just based on the survey work that we've done compared to the previous surveyor. The pool and such is, and even the house is closer to or within the easement, and this closer to the lot line. So it looks different, but it is technically the same. It was just a function of the way the previous surveyor held some of the survey math.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, this was 2001,
Ah,
2007. It's number 394, so,
yeah. It was a while ago. I was thinking it was a while ago, 2001.
yep.
Okay, do you, any, Deb, were you out there? Who was out there?
Yeah. I don't have any issues.
Okay, and yeah, it's kind of weird that the pool is in the easement, but
That was, yeah, that's been there for a long time.
it's not really our gig, as long as they did what they needed to do from a wetland point of view.
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
So recommendation is to issue the the certificate of compliance is, and it's, I
Yes.
assume, a full certificate of compliance, it's not partial. We don't have to watch any plants grow or anything.
No.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance? I mean, is there any discussion about this? Just approve the motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 160 Country Way, DP file number 234394.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Allison,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Great. Thank you very much. Are we ready for the next one? So now we'll take up 124 Elder Road, DP file number 234757. This is also a certificate of compliance. And what do we have about this one? This was a little bit more recent.
Yep. So again, this was a single family home that came in front of you for an order of conditions. And where we find ourselves today on, if I can use my little cheat sheet here, we find a few differences, most of which are to your benefit in the sense that the patio that was found in the as-built was smaller than proposed. The house was a few inches further away from the wetlands. The plantings were closer to the Fuller Brook, and basically the drainage system, the infiltration system, was divided into two different locations instead of one pit. The only thing that we find that was slightly additional impervious was a small walkway on the side of the driveway that services a doorway. And the shed was a little bit closer, 6 inches closer to the easement than that was approved in the minor, I'm not sure if it was administrative approval or minor modification. Other than that, again, everything was as proposed for the house. Sorry, I'm trying to find that plan.
So my one question is, that document you just had up said Herd Brook, but you said Fuller Brook. So what's
Oh, it is Herd Brook. I do apologize.
It's Herd Brook.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yes.
to say that out loud. Great. Okay, so anybody, Deb or Clay, have any comment about this?
I think, as Diane said, most of this was in our favor and relatively minor. So
I don't know, the shed was 6 inches closer.
That's true.
Okay, so any commission members have any comments? Allison,
No comment.
Peter,
No comment.
Artie,
No comment.
Stephen.
No comment.
Okay, if we're ready to issue the certificate of compliance for 124 Elder Road, DP file number 234757, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Allison,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
And aye. Thank you very much. Sorry you had to wait so long for 5
That's
minutes
okay.
of our time.
Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
You too. Thanks, Diane.
Bye-bye.
Okay, any meeting minutes that we needed to go over?
Not for tonight, no.
Great. Anything else that we have to discuss?
We have the
an order of
exhibit A,
conditions. Oh, yeah, we have it for
94 Heather.
94 Heather Lane. And when we come to sign this, you'll just have to come into my mudroom, which the door's always open and there's a bureau and it'll just be sitting there. And you can check out the garage as it's.
Why are you shutting it down? I love that little garage.
I know it's gonna be another little garage. It's gonna
Oh.
be exactly the same thing, but it's like rotting from the all over and the water just pours in from the holes in top. Okay,
Well, it served us well.
it has served us well. Okay, so exhibit A, and we've had all night to read that, so I'm counting on Peter to have read it in earnest.
Yeah, I read it.
Good work.
So want me to point out the highlighted items?
Sure, I'm trying to. Yeah, you might as well pull it up. That way I don't have to pull it up on my half of a screen.
Hey, do you have it?
Let me see if I can pull it. Hold on.
Thank you. I've never been a good sharer on my computer. Look, my dog is really needing my attention.
And your dog has gotten so big.
Yes, and he continues to be needy. Right. Okay, so added the orange construction fencing installed at the limit of work.
Great.
I think is important.
Yes.
So the commission doesn't know, but Kobe Kemple will no longer allow me on his properties. So number 2, which is one of our stock conditions, states that the department staff can enter upon the premises to inspect work for compliance with the order. So I'm not allowing, like I would not have Clay go by himself to the property. We're always going to go in pairs. I am not
Okay.
allowed to go anymore. So I brought Alex from planning with me last time I went there. So if Clay is going to be, visiting the site to see if the enforcement, if they've seeded it and such, I would have him meet someone out there or bring someone with him.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can keep this in here or what I should do.
Well, isn't that all? But it's one of our standard comments.
It
right?
is.
I think you keep it in there.
I mean, don't you have the right to go, Debbie? I mean,
He
Well,
told me I'm
here-
not allowed on his property. So I
He has
assume I can't anymore.
Specifically said that she's not allowed, but the rest of us are.
what if he says
So-
everybody in the Conservation Commission, including everybody, is not
It's
allowed?
just people that have vendettas against him. That's only me.
So, I mean, we keep the statement in there And we
Yeah.
honor the fact that he has requested that Deb Anderson doesn't go on his property, and we come up with other plans, and either Clay
Okay.
goes and he brings somebody from the town, or he brings one of us, and it's fine.
Okay. So once again, number 14 was just about the orange construction fencing. Number 19, any construction debris, cement fencing or soil from the project shall be kept outside the 100-foot buffer zone until it's disposed of off-site in compliance with regulations. And then number 22, I was just wondering what you would want for an as-built on this, since it's removing.
Yeah, maybe we want photographs. Can we just have photographs of the area? Or is that
So-
okay or not okay? They're removing it. It's definitely an improvement to the area to remove this. They're going to change the topography, but they don't have a plan to show what that new topography is, but they're not gonna
Mhm.
bring it, they're not gonna bring it down to 10 feet. That would not be useful for them. So I think just photographs showing that it's stabilized. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else have other suggestions? I think that
No.
would be,
Okay.
that we have on record so that it's very clear that it's been done and that it's stable.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, do we want to add the condition about pulling the top 3 to 4 inches of organic material and putting that to the side? So
Sounds like
that
a
it
good idea.
goes back on top.
I like the idea, and it's definitely in their best interest to do that.
Mhm. And have the
Sure,
you know,
get a better
blanket, the cotton
content.
netting.
The it's called a hay blanket with cotton netting.
Yep.
I mean, you'll get a better germination if you have
So
that.
do we want to make a condition for those 2 items?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
It'll be more successful.
Okay. That's all I had for special conditions.
Um, Sweet. And what about the raking of the area that's the seating in the 200-foot riverfront area? Is that in there?
I didn't add it. So you just want me to add a condition?
I think, well, that's a good point. So do we add a condition that basically says
I mean, we
Air-
could also hold the permit until there's evidence that the seeding has taken place and
well, but we
germination.
didn't tell them that was gonna happen. So, I mean, would we just say the disturbance with the the disturbance that was within the riverfront area shall be hand raked and seeded. And erosion control placed and no further disturbance.
So there's erosion control there now, right?
The erosion control that's beyond the 200-foot line. So it's like at 150 feet. But
Okay.
they're gonna put a new erosion control line, keeping the one that they have and adding erosion controls at the 200-foot line.
Okay.
It's mostly at the 200-foot, and then they missed it for a loop.
Okay.
So they should have gone down and straight across, and instead they looped it. I mean, if you don't think
Okay.
we have. need
So
a
you want that to
condition-
be a condition?
Well, maybe not. I just want to make sure it happens. But how do we make sure it
Mhm.
happens if it's not a condition and they didn't have it on a plan and we just talked about it?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Sounds good.
Anything else? Anybody? So we need a motion to issue this order as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Allison,
I,
Peter,
Aye.
Artie, Stephen.
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you very much. Anything else? 9:30. This is a long night.
Oh, is this truly Artie's last night with us?
I will probably stay on, I will probably stay on to make sure there isn't an issue with the Tabor thing, just in case we need a quorum or something like that, but I'll probably stay on for that, just to make sure, since I was here. But that'll be my last night. I can't do it. I gotta stop some stuff.
I'm sorry. It's
can't manage all-
embarrassing.
Hello, Dougie.
That would be great if you could. I know that I cannot attend May 12th. So if you're able to be here, Artie, so we have that quorum and can get the Eagle Scouts moving along, that would be really appreciated. And congratulations. I mean, this is, hopefully we have another, you're going to work with Paul Alpert. So we have another
Yeah.
friend on the planning board.
Exactly, yes, exactly. Someone else with some environmental consciousness on mind. And it seems like there'll be some movement in the planning board as far as environmental issues and tree issues. And the select board, I think, has the bylaws on their mind. And so I think there's going to be, I think there'll be more of a push. Plus, from the society in general, there's more of a consciousness as far as the environmental aspect of everything that we're doing. So
you're gonna miss how simple the Conservation Commission is.
what's that?
How simple it is, the decisions compared to the politics in the planning board.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
You're gonna
All
miss
those
it.
lawyers.
Wow,
No,
that was really easy.
I know the lawyers can hear me, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. It is.
It is. It is complicated.
Yeah, it is.
Well, good luck to you. It's a challenging for sure.
We're likely to see you guys in a couple of weeks, or some of you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
Well,
Thank you,
do-
everyone. Can I have a
I'll let
motion-
you know when the signature sheets are in Janet's
Mudroom.
mudroom or,
Yeah,
okay.
just the mudroom, you just go in the front door. It's always open.
Front door, okay.
Okay.
Front door.
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
aye, aye.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much, everybody,
you.
for hanging in there.
Thanks.
Bye.